this. Hello once again, everyone. This is Alex.
And Ryan.
We're back for another week's recap of Survivor. Winners at War, episode 7? No, episode 5, 6.
Count the first episode as a double episode. 6.
We'll go with that. We're here to talk about that. We're clearly prepared. We're here to talk about all the shenanigans that happened on this week's episode. So to kick us right off, Ryan, overall thoughts, what'd you think?
Okay, so overall, it's not the result that I wanted, but with everything that happened, I think I have to concede that it was probably one of the better episodes of the season.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe the best one so far. I'm not entirely sure. That might be the second episode in my eyes, but it was really good, and we saw a lot of interesting play, particularly over on new decal. How did you feel about it?
Are we talking about towards the end of the episode, or
just in general? How did you feel about the episode?
In general, the episode I thought was really great. I think a lot of people were made aware of the deity that is Denise Stapley, and for me, I'm like, episode 1 Philippines. I'm happy that how many years ago was that? 7 years ago. People are finally catching on, and the fact that they have the nerve to be shocked, I'm mildly offended. That being said, it was, I think, of the overall season, I think the only episode I think that would top it would probably be the premiere.
Yeah.
Because I feel like since then, there hasn't really been a whole lot. A lot of it's just been very, well, there's not much you can do because you're a huge threat in this game, or you talk too much. You know, in Survivor, you can't talk too much. So there hasn't been a whole lot of surprise as far as the episodes go. So, and on one tribe, there wasn't much of a surprise with the outcome. But then on, obviously, decal, there was big old surprise. It was like Christmas came early.
So we kicked off with the basically like the generic reactions to Rob being voted out. So we get kind of like a talking head from Ben. He made this comment that really bugged me. He said the reason why he voted out Rob was because it was a lack of respect. Like, Rob wasn't respecting the game, or like that people play it. And I'm like, listen, if you're gonna vote out Boston Rob, pick any reason. There's a multitude. But him not respecting your right to play the game is like the least strategic reason to vote somebody out of the game.
I hear everything that you're saying. I think for me, the split second someone says, no, don't talk to anybody else. Don't talk to these two people. I think his wording was off, but I think his justification was perfectly fine.
Oh, no, it absolutely was. I just feel like that's the reason you had? Like, you didn't have a better reason?
No, the split second someone tries to dictate to me anything, whether it's the time I wake up to start cleaning or who I'm going to vote for, who I'm allowed to talk to, I'm like, honey, you are not my mother. I was going to say, you are not the president. And even then, that's one of those ones I'm like, the federal government's going to have to get me on some stuff because I don't care about anything about what. Anyway, we're not getting political. Yeah, his Ben has the tendency to be very self-righteous, but in the first time, probably in the season and a half I watched him play, I didn't really mind it.
Fair enough.
A whole lot. The one that I had the bigger problem with was my diehard favorite of all seasons, Adam being like, oh yay, the Wicked Witch is dead. Is so the attitude. He had this way, that string of consciousness, where I swear to God, I thought I was watching a 15-year-old girl who just got picked up at the mall and wanted to bitch about her parents. It was so unbelievably like, well, now I don't really have a lot of like ties to these people, and Ben's cozying up to the other two, and I'm like, oh gee, maybe it's because your social prowess is non-existent to terrible. Sorry. So I'm supposed to feel guilty for you. I don't. I'm supposed to feel bad for you. I don't. Adam gets like 3 to 5 confessionals an episode, which are unnecessary. And again, I keep waiting for it to like die down. I honestly think he makes top 3 just because of the edit. that they give us, and it's just like, hey, America, you are going to like Adam. And I'm like, I don't have the time, I don't have the patience. But it seems like other than Adam, everyone's getting along at Yara, I think is the name of the tribe. It's like,
Yeah.
ooh.
And that makes sense too, just based on how we've seen Adam kind of interact with his surroundings so far. That everybody on Yara is bonding and setting up what could potentially be an alliance for the future going forward.
I'd say,
Um,
yeah.
yeah,
I don't know, like the fact that Sarah and Sophie are on opposite ends of the original DeCall spectrum. I don't know how super tight the two of them are. Uh, yeah, there's no telling. I wouldn't be shocked if Yara had gone to tribal council. Well, I'm getting ahead of myself. That was the whole Yara situation. I feel like had they gone to tribal council, Adam definitely would have had a spotlight on him. But I really think in that tribe, really any one person other than Adam could have been like, let's stir this up a little bit. And
yeah.
it seems
I think Adam definitely leaves if Yara goes to tribal, which is just so bad for us as viewers that they didn't lose. Before we get to the challenge, we do have a moment over on Edge of Extinction. So you mentioned earlier Girls at the Mall. So speaking of Girls at the Mall, Tyson found the advantage on the island and the Edge of Extinction and stuffed it into his man panties, as he said.
manties
He had to put it in the waistband of his man panties.
for him.
Turns out this advantage was an idol nullifier, which I hate. That is possibly my least favorite advantage in the game next to a super idol.
I think, yeah, that's fair. That's a fair assessment. I honestly, before I comment on that, I was stunned we didn't get like a 2 minute, like Boston Rob talking about being voted out of the game as like Jeff Probst's be all end all deity level player of this game. I was stunned that there was like no talk about that at all. Or like pictures of like Rob like standing with the sun setting in front of him and we just get his silhouette. I expected all the drama and like a love letter to America. Like, we're so sorry that the world's greatest Survivor player got voted out. That being said, Tyson finding that, I was like, okay, interesting. Let's see what he does with it. Until he did what he did with it, which I found fascinating.
Right. Well, I wasn't shocked that he gave it to Parvati, but my thought was like, if you were gonna give advantages to people in the game, why did you give your fire token to Nick and then give the idol nullifier to Parvati? And he said he wanted to give it to somebody that would buy it, which makes sense. Parvati would be the person that would be like, hell yeah, I'm gonna buy this. She has so many fire tokens. But
Mhm.
like, I don't. I don't know. It would have been obvious, I think, from the outside looking in. Parvati's not in a good spot on that tribe, so an idol nullifier doesn't really help her at all.
Yeah, but I also don't think that Tyson really had any way of knowing that.
Well, I mean, he did get voted out unanimously on DeCall, and there's 3 to call on that tribe, so it could be.
I was gonna say, well, right. Oh, I guess Boston Rob could have told him like how the tribes got shuffled up. You're right.
Yeah,
So that makes sense. I thought the whole peanut butter situation was hilarious when he looks at
it
the
was
tribe.
amazing.
He was just like, oh yeah, I might be, what was it? Oh, something about a fool, and he was like, and I don't think I am. And I'm like, time will tell, Mr. Tyson, time will tell.
That I love that part of his reasoning for buying the peanut butter was like, because one, it's hilarious, and two, it'll actually be nutritious for me. But like the major reason was that it would be hilarious, which is what we expect from Tyson. It's entertaining.
I mean, I feel as though when you're like booted really early, a la Natalie and Amber, I understand the mindset of, oh my gosh, like I gotta get these tokens, I gotta get these tokens, I gotta get these tokens. Whereas if you're voted off closer to what I can only assume is the next episode challenge back in or battle back in to steal from Big Brother, like it makes sense that it just be like I'm gonna have one of these tokens. What's it really gonna do? I might as well get some peanut butter and enjoy myself. So
Right.
so I know a bunch of people had like their thoughts of why would he ever do that, and to me it makes sense. It's just
Yeah.
it's there. Then we get to wait. Were we done on Edge of Extinction?
Yeah.
We get to the immunity challenge. Um, Yeah, I know some of them had to have been like, oh my gosh, are we really cutting open these bags of rice? I'm just assuming they don't starve the contestants the way they used to, a la season 4 or 5.
Right.
Ever since Eric Reichenbach like had to be medically evacuated from the game from basic starvation, as I remember it, I just think they're like, no, we have to give them food. It seems fair.
Going into this challenge, I was kind of freaking out because like I didn't even know who I really wanted to win. I just didn't want Yara to win. So of course, like nature tells us that Yara will win, and they did. Um, I appreciated that Wendell was doing like the final part with the balancing thing and was like talking smack to Jeff, and then he dropped the he dropped the thing. It's like it was we had a very interesting edit of Wendell this episode.
You really
Um,
did.
I do want to take like 2 seconds just to talk about at the start of the challenge when Jeff is explaining it. We get kind of like the survivors lined up on the beach and then the backdrop of the sun behind them. And the god himself that is Yule is just standing there and looks so good. So good.
I mean, does the man have a bad angle? Can we be honest?
I don't know, but I feel like everybody needs to be aware that that moment exists in the episode because he just looked so good.
Is that your did you miss it moment?
It has to be because I didn't miss it, and I hope for all the viewers at home that they didn't miss it either. There was also actually what my did you miss it moment probably would be. I thought it was very odd. So the whole song and dance of Yara coming in, Boston Rob voted out the last tribal council. Big reaction from the players, but like why? But Michelle was like shaking her head in like disappointment. Michelle was not working with Rob, so I was very confused at why she was like tisk tisk because like she was working with Adam and Ben.
Well, I mean, that from what we've seen as the audience, absolutely. But we also see later in the episode Michelle being like, I've built really strong bonds with someone for 16 to 17 days. Oh, Parvati's my best friend out here. And I'm like, what? I'm like, that's not the edit we've been getting. So clearly, I think
Yeah,
it ties into like earlier in an earlier episode where we were kind of like, someone had mentioned, it might have been Ethan's vote out, where it's like, anytime someone throws out a name, there's always someone who doesn't want to vote for that name. And it seems as though the way the editing of the episodes went is it seemed like it was very old school versus new school, but there were definitely more layers than what we saw.
for sure.
I think even though Michelle voting wise was with the group that she was with and Parvati was with that group, clearly there was some interlocking relationships and alliances there. So
Right.
that's just me though. Sorry, I think I cut you off.
No, you're fine. So Yara does end up winning immunity. In my notes, I wrote, I'm only happy for Sophie getting peanut butter because I know she really wanted peanut butter and like I would want peanut butter. So good job, Sophie. I'm happy for you. But I specifically wrote, I do not want Parvati or Sandra or Denise to go. Fuck.
So there's only one
In
scenario.
all caps. My notes had a lot of capital letters this episode.
I can only imagine because there was a lot leading up to this episode. So
So first, after the challenge, we head over to New Celle.
okay, you and I are going to disagree on a lot of what's discussed here, so I can't wait.
I'm really excited. How are you feeling about the vibe on New Celle? It seems very clear that Parvati is just instantly, she's got the bullseye on her.
The target was on Parvati, and it was unfortunate because even though I appreciate Parvati, I respect Parvati, I wouldn't call myself like a fangirl for Parvati, but I respect wholeheartedly Parvati, and I really don't have anything constructive to say about her. That being said, I knew she was in trouble, and here's the thing about tribe swaps. People are always going to be, the way they do it, there's always someone who's going to be in the numbers minority. And a lot of times you can overcome that. When you're in the numbers minority and you are also one of the biggest legends in all of Survivor lore, there's not a tremendous amount that you can do. If she had been brought on to New Celle with maybe Wendell, Nick, and then someone like Kim or someone that was not part of that one or a first-time returnees alliance, there might have been somewhere that she could have gone. She could have zigged or zagged to try and get herself out of trouble. She literally not only went in with 3 people from the original decal, it was 3 aligned people from decal. So there was very little Parvati was going to be able to do. I honestly would like to think that she tried harder than what we were shown, because it really just seemed like she and Michelle are talking. Michelle's like, oh, you know, maybe we can try. They're like, our best chance is Nick. And then we immediately go to Wendell. What did you think about the whole Wendell inclusion in their attempts to try and save Parvati?
You know, I already disagree with you a little bit about not seeing that Parvati was, not that she wasn't doing enough, but that she wasn't shown doing enough, because she did mention like anytime she tried to talk to Yul, she didn't really get anything out of him, and she was trying to talk to Nick and kind of convince him and Wendell. And I think at first they thought Wendell would be the person to try because Michelle had that past relationship with Wendell, and Wendell would probably be focused on kind of making like a prominent move. I think this is a really good point in the game. I think that the kind of play that typically earns the respect of people in the end is if you have a defining move pre-merge and a defining move post-merge that really sets you apart. And I think if you only have a defining move post-merge, it kind of looks like you didn't play for the first half of the game and you coasted. And a lot of the times we see people get really close wins if they only have an end game thing to boast, unless you're Chris from Edge of Extinction, which doesn't count.
Because that was barely a season.
So
until he won it, and then yeah, it's neither here or there.
I thought it was smart to work like that, that angle that they were, but I was very confused at the interactions between Wendell and Michelle, because I viewed Wendell being very like condescending to Michelle. Like he was just very like,
wow.
Not aggressive. Aggressive is the wrong word, but he was immediately just like kind of being a jerk. Like any interaction he had with her, he was just being a jerk. I was not surprised that they broke up based on the way that he was speaking to her, because he kind of made her sound like she was I don't, you know, and again, everything is edited, so I don't want to imply anything about Wendell as a person, but like the way it came across as Michelle was being very like straightforward, conversational, and Wendell was just kind of like shutting her down and like just stepping all over her. It was very.
The thing that I saw Wendell shut down of Michelle was, hey, I want to throw a vote at you so that Parvati will give me her tokens and that I can still look loyal. And it's like Wendell just said, no, if you want to look loyal, then vote for me. But if you want my blessing for you to write my name down, not happening today. I'm not cool with it. Obviously, vote how you're going to vote. But yeah, you can't look like you're trying to be loyal to me and then also try and look like you're loyal to Parvati. And for me, I 120% agreed with Wendell on that one.
No, not at all. It's a smart strategic move. If you're gonna get someone's fire tokens,
for Michelle,
it's for both of them.
What?
It's for both of them. If they're gonna work together, having Parvati's 4 fire tokens to split between the 2 of them is a smart move. I also thought
to split the fire tokens between her and Wendell.
Huh?
No. Michelle did not offer those tokens. The only benefit that Wendell would know is knowing where the tokens go, which I'm sorry, in Survivor, knowledge is definitely power, but how does that benefit Wendell? It doesn't. So for him to not like chomp at the bit at Michelle's plan, I had zero problem with Michelle or with Wendell, A, not taking the bait, and B, telling her absolutely not. So the way he did it, the way that he told her that could have been a little bit more diplomatic, but at the end of the day, I'm still Team Wendell over Michelle.
No, I don't like it. And I also don't like how he was all like, give me your fire tokens before the vote and I'll totally vote with you. It was transparent. He was never going to vote with her. He just wanted to steal some fire tokens from her. And I don't like how at Tribal Council, which we'll get to later, but at Tribal Council, he was basically like shaming her for not taking the deal. And then she was like, I wanted to work with you and you didn't want to work with me. And he's like, because you wouldn't give me your fire tokens.
I'm so sorry. In that situation, sorry, I'm going to let you talk because I have feelings.
I don't get it. I just don't get it.
Here's the thing. The thing to get is that Wendell was in the numbers majority. Wendell had allies. Wendell owed Parvati not a damn thing.
Right, but if you want those fire tokens, there's a way to get them, and he wasn't being smart in trying to get them.
How
At
so?
least
Is
at
he
least
still in
get one out of it.
is he still in the game? Is he still outnumbering Michelle 3-1? Then
Did
I
he get the fire tokens?
like obviously he would have liked the fire tokens. Do I agree with you in the sense that had Parvati given him the fire tokens, he still would have voted her off? Absolutely. That being said, the man is playing a game. Do I think that he talks to, and a lot of people are like, oh, Wendell's so sexist, he's so masochistic, or not
No,
masochistic,
I don't think any of that is true.
blah, blah, blah. I'm like, y'all, I don't have time for this conversation. I don't have time for these opinions because all the man did was say no. Like basically, like we're not talking about Yule, and apparently we didn't even see Yule even talk about Parvati, or I'd like to save Parvati, or this is what I'm offering to Parvati. Nothing, absolutely nothing. So for me, I'm like, at least Wendell is trying to leverage the situation to benefit himself. Yule, as far as we saw, didn't even do that. So for everyone trying to dog on Wendell or say A, B, and C, I asked you twice, what did Wendell actually say to Michelle that was disrespectful or anything? And I've still yet to hear anything. So
I
again,
feel like the way that he shut down Michelle in their conversation, the way that he spoke at tribal council, he came across as condescending.
but what did he say?
Girl, I watched the episode 6 days ago. I will go back. I will rewatch it. I will pop into your DMs with direct quotes if that makes you feel better.
Feel free, because I just rewatched it. I love it because we've disagreed maybe once this entire time doing this, and I'm living for the moment. That being said, yes, the way he shut Michelle down, but it's like, how often do people say, "Hey, maybe we can vote this way," and someone says no? And it's happened plenty of times this season, but suddenly Wendell does it, and everyone has a problem with it and thinks he's a jerk. And I think
I
that's
think it's just the way that he comes across. Like his personality shined in a really negative way this episode. And if it's okay to feel differently, but I think especially with how the things that he said at tribal, I was watching his tribal council answers, the way that he talked to Michelle, the way he shut down Parvati instead of thinking of another solution where he could still get fire tokens out of this. And I'm like, this is not gameplay that's going to be rewarded. It's just not. I don't see it being rewarded.
I was going to say the one thing that I will agree with is that I believe that Wendell came off in a very cocky way, but at the
Mhm.
same time, it's probably something that's going to, usually when people get cocky, they go home. And it seems like instead of people just having the mindset of Wendell's getting cocky, he's probably doomed. It's like Wendell's being cocky. He's so condescending. And I'm like, okay. For me, the Michelle bit was, I'm offering you my vote. I'm offering this. I'm like, Michelle, you are literally in the minority and you are the lesser of the two targets because you are freaking Michelle versus Parvati. So stop trying to act like you're doing anybody a favor by being willing to throw your vote. It does not matter. The only way it's going to matter later is if eventually down the road, if there's a merge, you're going to fly under the radar because there are infinitely bigger fish to fry than you. So the fact that Michelle felt that she was owed, to me, she was talking like she was owed something. And it's like, oh, in the relationship, this happened, it's happening in the game. And I'm like, unless you want to start dissecting what happened in your relationship, I need you to stop talking about your relationship. I really didn't care. I'm like, you can Dr. Ruth this, you can, what was it? Dr. Phil, marriage counseling, all you want. You broke up with somebody, you're stuck on an island. My heart goes out to you. That being said, you're acting like you're offering something of value in this situation. And unless Parvati had a hidden immunity idol, which apparently Wendell just assumed she didn't. Because to be that direct, that's the reason why I've got all the respect in the world for Wendell. Because all he had to do was say, no, we'll vote with you. You, me, and Michelle can vote for somebody else, da da da, just to get them to throw their votes on Wendell or, I'm sorry, on Yule or Nick. Wendell didn't even do that. So for me, people keep talking about him being a villain. He was loyal to his alliance. He might have been slightly off-putting towards his ex-girlfriend, which I'm sorry, who's 100% civil to their ex, especially if it was a messy breakup. Nobody. So I struggle to see the narrative that's being painted about Wendell. And
Okay.
that's how I feel. Like unless you can challenge, like Wendell could have been a sleazeball against Nick and Yule. To me, I have respect for the guy because I that's what I would have done. I'm like,
Well,
yeah,
I don't think he outright was like, no, I'm not going to vote for them. Like, he did play into that. And then that's when Parvati was like, well, he's being a jerk about these fire tokens, so I'm just gonna go tell Nick that he's willing to write his name down.
Yeah, and what's funny is Nick had that whole, oh, well, maybe I should switch it up and blah, blah. And I'm like, that's editing fodder at its best.
Yeah.
Like, Nick was never contemplating voting for Wendell. It was never going to happen. So it's like, what are you going to do? And like, if Nick was so offended, he could have switched the vote up, but he didn't. And you want to know why? You want to know why Wendell was probably that cocky? Because he knew at the end of the day, nothing was going to happen this week. Could it happen down the road? Absolutely. Is it possible that he's banking too much that everyone's like on his side when maybe they're not? 120%. That being said, I was going to say until someone starts getting like, what was it, wrestle hands and start making personal attacks on people, it's all a game to me. But I know that not everyone sees things the way that I do. That being said, we move over to New DeCall, and immediately Tony takes off into the woods to go do Tony in the Woods kind of things.
I'm so over it. Like, Tony is playing a stupid game.
But
he's not playing a good game. You don't run away into the woods the second that you get back to camp and hide for an indefinite amount of time. Why would you do that on a tribe of 5 where you don't have an idol to save yourself?
Like, he's literally the one person without an advantage to save himself. And it makes sense to do that maybe after like an hour, maybe 2 hours, like, hey, I'm gonna go take a leak, or hey, I'm gonna go find some coconuts, I'm gonna go do something that requires he like distanced himself from everyone and then just didn't let them know he was leaving anyway. That was fascinating.
I loved that Sandra knew like exactly where his shack was too. She was like, by the way, don't talk by the well. The last time Tony set up a shack, it was by the well. Like, she just flat out knows exactly where his spy shack is.
Yeah. I found that to be absolutely fascinating. I was a fan. That was definitely 10 points for Sandra on that one.
I struggle so much with the Tony fandom, and I already am not a huge fan of his win because of having a super idol. I think it played way more into him not being targeted than we saw in the edit. And I just have not seen any really good gameplay from him. I've seen a couple moments where I was like, oh, maybe, and then he goes back to this thing where it basically looks like Lord of the Flies. That's how Tony plays Survivor, is the Lord of the Flies.
Oh, go ahead.
No, you're fine. I don't have anything nice to say, so I'm gonna stop.
I mean, go ahead.
No, you're fine.
Sit here with my tea and just enjoy. Look, yeah, it's interesting just because Tony is very capable, but I also think that the season Tony won, he was playing with a lot of people who were completely oblivious to the intricacies of the game. And I definitely think once he gained the majority in or at the merge, it was kind of like, it was definitely his game to lose at that point. So I get that, but the trick is there are certain people who played their seasons with not the most inventive thinkers or the most strategic thinkers, and Tony was definitely one of them. And then there are players who kind of get to the end. Well, we're not on that tribe anymore, so I'm not gonna get on that soapbox. But yeah, there's certain players where it's like I kind of got to the end because I was not the biggest threat, and then I just won. And here we are. Very interesting with Tony. I was very intrigued. I would have liked to have seen a bit more from Jeremy as well as Kim. We saw Kim strategizing with Sandra quite a bit. And obviously they can only put so much in any one episode. And I say this every time you and I talk.
Right.
There's only so much that can be included. But yeah, it was fascinating to me how Denise pulls Kim and Sandra aside, and it's just kind of like, are y'all comfortable? Are y'all good? And Sandra's like, yeah, we're comfortable, but you're an amazing person. And
right.
And it's just kind of like, damn. And again, not to bring it back to the Wendell situation, I think it's so strategically, it's almost suicide. Just be like, yep, you're going home. If not you, then your friend. Because at that point, you almost make it, if one of them have an idol, which, surprise, surprise, Denise did, if they have an idol, they have a 50-50 shot of putting it on the correct person that's going to get at least 2 votes if you split them. So it's like, and splitting your votes in 5 when it's 3-5 or 3-2 is pointless anyway, because if there's 2 here and you do 2 and 1, if they put the idol on the person with 2 votes, the 1 vote doesn't even matter. So you may as well put all your votes together. So the fact that these people are being so blatant, and maybe it's because Edge of Extinction is a thing this season, the fact that people are actively telling ones like, yeah, there's not really anything you can do to break us up, so good luck with that, is fascinating to me.
Right, and I'll give you that, but I have to pull that layer back just a little bit because I would agree with you in most other circumstances, except for the fact that I think when this conversation happened, I think Sandra was already putting in her mind that she was going to slip the idol to Denise or offer it to her. Because Sandra is typically not, she is a blunt player, but she's typically not blunt in a way that puts the target back on her.
That's fair.
Huh?
That's fair.
Yeah. And I feel like she possibly didn't want Kim to know that she was thinking about making this move. So in front of Kim, yeah, she was like, "Oh, it's, I'm really sorry. You're great, but like the red is not splitting up and Tony really likes Jeremy, so it's you, but you're really nice."
So in your mind, it was more so her doing that was to kind of save face with Kim.
I think so. Because
Okay.
I think Sandra probably had it in her mind already. But that's just my thought. So we do. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No, you're good.
I was just gonna say. So we do get to this point where there is the deal of the century, and I just literally started writing down like expletives in capital letters because I couldn't believe what was happening. We know Sandra has an idol coming into this episode that expires this episode if she goes to tribal, which she is. Kim has an idol, Denise has an idol, Jeremy has an advantage where he can sit out of tribal. So the only person vulnerable in this tribe is Tony. In reality, if everybody wanted to, they could just write Tony's name down, which is an interesting perspective. But really what we're looking at here is people thinking about the end game already and about saving face when it comes to the merge.
Mm-hmm.
So if Sandra writes down Tony's name, she looks disloyal to Call,
Mm-hmm.
and Kim might have issue with it. If Kim votes for DeCall, for Tony, she was already kind of in a bad spot on DeCall. It might look even worse. Her jumping ship to go with Old Blue. So instead, we see Sandra using her idol as kind of a gambit with Denise, like, "Hey, it's gonna be you, but it's not gonna be you because I have this idol. All I want are the fire tokens that you have. I'll give this to you. You play it, and we take out one of the boys, I don't care which one, and the girls move forward." Which, when you look at it, is a really good deal
It is.
for the expense of 2 fire tokens. But I predicted this as soon as it happened. It's in my notes. I said, imagine she takes out Sandra to save 1 fire token, because the deal was she gives her a fire token for the idol, and then after tribal, she gives the other fire token to Sandra.
Well, what's fascinating is I thought in my head along those same lines. I didn't think that immediately. So kudos to you for sorting out or for divining that sooner than I did. But 120%, I remember sitting there going, oh gosh, is she going to get rid of Kim? Is she going to get rid of Tony? Is she going to get rid of, obviously I don't think she'd get rid of Jeremy, but it almost just seems like getting rid of Tony at this stage in the game. And to your point earlier, I think Tony's still in the game because who is Tony a threat to at this stage in the game? Very few people, I think. Just because we haven't really seen much of his strategic game compared to other players. That being said, I remember thinking, wouldn't that just be weird if Denise took out Sandra? Like, I don't see how it would be necessarily beneficial to her game, but that would be a killer move if she did it. But she's not going to. So that was very, very interesting. So did we have anything prior to getting to tribal council?
No, I mean, I really think that was it. And you see Denise kind of alluding to the move that she's going to make. Not necessarily about it being Sandra, but that she has the power to take out anybody at this point.
Yeah. What I found so fascinating about this move of Sandra's is it seems fine. And I want to say this is the episode because when I revisited it, I didn't see it again. This is the episode she was like, originally I wanted to take out the girls. Maybe this was an interview I saw on either Facebook or YouTube or both. But she was like, I wanted to take out the women, but then I realized a lot of women were being sent to edge of extinction. So she was like, I had to slow down on this notion of just getting rid of all the women. So
I don't remember from the episode, but
okay, so that was probably just something from a Survivor exclusive that I watched. Never mind. That being said, she did say that, by the way, insider. I found it fascinating that unless she just really felt like the desire to work with Denise, I was stunned that she didn't hold on to the idol, let it expire, and then try selling an expired idol to someone that she wanted to get rid of.
that would have been a really smart move as well.
Because I think a lot of people in some of the groups that I'm part of on Facebook are just like, Sandra made the stupidest move ever. Like, and I'm just like, it was only stupid in that it didn't work out for her. But the idea of this currency is going to come into, effect somehow in the future. So let me go ahead and start building my nest egg while saving a player that to me is not really a threat. Obviously, she didn't take into consideration that Denise might already have an idol. And let's be honest, she had a 1 in 10 chance that Denise did not have the idol from the original Sele tribe. So, I think a lot of people attach their logic to Sandra or to Sandra's logic based on what we know.
Right.
What we as the audience knows is like Sandra didn't know. Sandra, when you're a player, you don't know a tenth of the information that's edited and then put into these episodes. So, well, maybe that's actually arguable. So never mind. I recant that. But no, I thought it was a good move. I was just surprised that a player like Sandra didn't think, let me hold on to this. If I lose Denise, I lose Denise. But let me use this later to really screw someone's game up.
Right. I do think I think when I look at it as unobjectively as I can, I think that people calling it like such a stupid move, stupidest move ever, I don't see that at all. I would honestly probably put the move at about 75% reward and 25% risk.
Yeah.
And not just because you're one of 4 people that can get a vote, but because if you're giving somebody an idol and telling them, look, this is what everybody else has decided, it's going to be you. The only thing I can do to save you is this. Yeah, I want your fire tokens, but I'm saving you in the game too. The way it goes wrong is not knowing that they already have an idol to save themselves. But I could look at this as well from the same coin, and I won't. But if I wanted to, I could say just as much as Sandra's move ended up not being a good move only because it didn't work, Denise's move of playing both idols was also not a good move. I mean, she had guaranteed safety in the game. Yes, there might have been a risk that a vote would go towards Jeremy, but Jeremy ended up putting down Denise's name too. So unless there's something we saw where Jeremy and Denise were like,
vote for me.
just vote for me and I'm going to idol both of us, which could have been the case, but
maybe that very well could be the scenario. Sorry, I started talking and you weren't done.
No, all I was going to say is that now they're stuck in, and it's still, unless there's some, again, things we haven't seen, maybe Kim was in on it too, and they were like, Sandra's got to go sooner than later. We're just going to all pile our votes on you, blah, blah, blah. And then Denise got paranoid and put an idol for Jeremy. I don't know. But like, it looks like on the surface now it's 2v2, and they could have been 2v2 with an idol and a way to sit out of tribal.
And that's totally fair. I just think a lot of people are in these groups are just like, oh my gosh, Denise is amazing. Denise is the new queen, da da da. And I'm just like, these are things I knew before the season started. Way to catch up. But at the same token, and I guess the only difference would just be the number of players still in the game. A lot of people who were like, oh, that was such a dumb move for her to burn both idols or to use both idols. I'm just like, well, remember when Parvati used 2 idols? And remember how everyone considered it one of the greatest moves in Survivor history? Let's talk about that. So granted, Parvati did it when there was like 10 people. So obviously 2 idols amongst 10 people makes a little bit more sense than 2 idols amongst 5 people. That being said, and you brought it up, the fact that if any one person had voted for Jeremy, it would have been 1 vote Jeremy, 1 vote Sandra. Everyone would just stockpile their votes on Jeremy. And that's if Denise had assumed that Sandra was telling the truth. One of the most noticeably and memorable, conniving, deceitful, manipulative players in the game. So for Denise to just sit there and say, "Oh well, Sandra must be telling me the truth," or what's that expression? If a deal seems too good to be true, it's too good to be true. So I just think, for me, it's like, yeah, if Denise could have gotten out of that tribal council with an idol that was still functional, 120%. I would have been thrilled for that. That being said, to say that she didn't take the word of Sandra Diaz Twine as gospel, I don't think is dumb on her part. She wanted,
Right.
she wanted to eliminate any and all risk that her plan could backfire. And that, here's the thing, if Sandra had done the same thing, she would have voted for Jeremy.
Right. It's one of those things I think we still need context to, because we need to know if Jeremy was in on the move. We need to know what Kim was thinking, because I kind of think that Kim sided with the wrong group on this one if she wasn't in on it. Only because, yes, Tony and Sandra are both threats, but Sandra is not a threat that's going to make it far in the game. And so Kim can hide behind Sandra, or Kim can hide behind and work with Jeremy, which I think is a much more viable strategy for Kim. And maybe that group before did agree and were like, we'll let go of Denise and then the 4 of us will move forward. Maybe that's a thing. But what I'm most happy about is that all the naysayers that said Denise didn't deserve a spot in the season, Denise isn't a big player, Denise is a small player, Denise is not this, that, or the other thing. Denise is one of the best winners of all time. She's
God,
proved. I don't know why you gagging so. She bring it to you every season.
I love you.
She does. She's so good, and I'm glad that she finally had this move that was just like, here's what I like about it the most is that it's never been done before in Survivor. And I could be wrong, knock on wallpaper, but I'm pretty sure no one has ever idled somebody out of the game with the idol that person gave them, which I think is incredible.
I'm
So
phenomenal. I'm so excited. I'm so proud for her. What are your thoughts as far as how this is going to affect Denise's game moving forward? Because some
I
people are convinced she's just made herself public enemy #1, and I disagree personally.
I don't think she made herself public enemy #1 because I think Sandra was somebody that everybody wanted out, but didn't want to be the one to kind of be like, well, I'm gonna pull the trigger. And a player like Denise is the player to pull the trigger because
I
she's
agree.
already unassuming. She already has strong relationships with people. She can talk her way out of this, explain that if I didn't play my idol, it was gonna be me. So I had to play it. And Tony, by the way, Sandra wanted me to take you out, so I saved you. Let's work together.
Right?
So, and she will. She absolutely will save.
And this is why I'm just like, a lot of people don't like to give the woman credit. I'm just like, Denise has these social capabilities. Just look at people and go, I'm not going to bullshit you. Everything I'm telling you is going to be non-emotional. It's 120% these reasons that I did exactly what I did. And she has the greatest reasons now. I didn't even consider that. So I applaud you for enlightening me. She can just go to Tony now and be like, she wanted it to be you.
Right.
Just
Or Jeremy. And so she can go to both of them. And now the boys are in her good graces. But she already idled Jeremy, so.
I think, yeah, I was gonna say she didn't need to use that for Jeremy, but absolutely for Tony to just be like, here's the thing. Sandra gave me that idol with the intention that I was gonna vote for you. I didn't feel that was right because I wanted you to stay here.
Right.
But I guess the counter argument would just be like, well, why didn't you just say that to begin with? And I guess she could just default
No,
to
because Tony's crazy.
there's that. But yeah, what was it? Yeah, that's actually quite good.
If she tells that to Tony, then Tony and Sandra probably vote for Kim, honestly.
Because yeah, I could just be like, I didn't want to say anything. I was too worried. I already knew I was on the outs. I already knew I was getting votes, so I didn't want to do anything. I wanted this to happen because I wanted you to stay. That's genius, Ryan, that you thought of that. So, and that's probably where Denise's mind is at.
I'm
You,
sure it is. I do want to throw out one more thing that I was really proud of Denise with her reaction in that conversation where Sandra was like, "You're a lovely person, but blah blah blah, it's you." The way that she reacted is how you need to respond in Survivor if you're going to make a boss ass play like she did. If you're just upfront like, "Well, why is it going to be me? Why did you?" Or you freak out like Tony would if you'd said something, you're not really going to get any ground. But I do sometimes listen to these like recaps from other people. And for once, I actually thought, and God help me if this ever happens again, I actually thought that Russell Hantz brought up a good point when he was talking about this episode. Not that I agree with his opinions on anybody, because he doesn't think that Kim is playing smart or a good game or blah, 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 or that he's let her down. And I'm not going to agree or disagree on that right now, but he did bring up a really interesting point, and that's that Jeremy, Denise, and Kim all seemed to have bonded. And that they were interested in working together. If they had developed any layer of trust and were willing to share their advantages in the game in terms of having them, they could have been the strongest alliance moving forward in the game, because it would have, all right, bear with me.
I'm listening.
If they had developed enough trust within 6 days, which is how long they were together, knowing that Kim came from a tribe where she was bottom of the barrel, which she knew that's where she stood with Sandra and Tony.
Yeah.
If they had at all convinced each other that they could trust each other and were willing to divulge their advantages, which is rare in modern Survivor, they would have had 2 idols and a sit out of tribal going forward.
Mm-hmm.
And Sandra could have given Denise Sandra's idol to take out Tony. They all could have been in on the plan, and Tony still goes. They still have Sandra thinking that Sandra's running everything, and the 3 of them now have 2 more idols and a tribal sit out moving forward in the game. That's all the power in the game that you really needed to merge. But I did want to bring that up because it was actually a good point, which I'm not used to hearing from his mouth.
There's
But
that.
it's unpractical in modern Survivor, but it would have been super cool to see.
It would have been super cool to see if it had worked. That being said, how often have we heard someone say, "Oh my God, I have an idol," and then the person that they tell that to runs around, tells everyone they have an idol, and they go home. Whoops. Sorry, I was gonna say FaceTime calls.
No, you're right. No, it's very frequent.
Yeah, so I'm just like, so to me, I'm like, I don't necessarily. Sorry, I'm calling my friend to be like, please don't call, we're recording.
But you have a point for sure, but players like Kim and Denise are not really those kinds of players either, to take information and run with it.
Right, but do we know that though?
I think so. I think based on quantitative evidence of how they've played in the past, I don't think they're those kind of players.
But that's just it. We also have seen many times in the past, someone plays one time, does really well, and then comes into either an All-Stars or a fans versus favorites, and they're like, I clearly did not have the right strategy last time or I would have won, so let me change things up. There's so many different things. And obviously, Sandra gave an idol to Denise without any implication that Denise was going to screw her, and she did, based on what Sandra had perceived from her being on the island for so many days, as well as from her previous season being so straightforward. So to me, to be like, oh, the 3 of them should have linked up, I'm just like, any combination of 3 people can link up. It's always going to come down to trust. It's always going to come down to numbers. It's always going to come down to how does this benefit my game? Also considering that if Kim betrayed original decal, she'd have a lot of explaining to do when she got back to when the merge happens, if she makes it. And she'd have to be like, well, I voted out Sandra or I voted out Tony because I voted them out. And what? So now she's got 0 blood on her hand. She has the ability to turn to Denise and Jeremy and try and move forward with them. She still can be like, I didn't vote for Sandra. So she can still go back to original decal. So as much as I would love for what Russell described to come into fruition, because Jeremy's cool. I love Kim. She's one of my favorite. Denise is absolutely my favorite this season. As much as I would love to see that happen, I don't see how it makes sense to dog any of them for not making that happen, just because of how quickly people are to turn on each other just to stay in the game. We're also talking about $2 million. So the stakes are really high, and trusting the wrong person or giving out the wrong information, any of that could easily turn against you and result in you being voted out. So I don't blame anybody for keeping an immunity idol quiet unless they are forced by the rules of the idol to tell someone that they have said idol. So
Fair.
I thought so.
So sadly, we lose Sandra and Parvati in this episode. Parvati's fire tokens go unshockingly to Michelle.
And that's, what was it? She ended up voting for Wendell, right?
Yeah, because at that point, screw it.
I gotta be honest, Michelle seems to want heaven and earth in a breadbasket for doing absolutely nothing than being Wendell's ex, and I'm not here for it. I don't think it's cute, and I think the play was very
opposite point of this with you.
What?
I am so the opposite point of this with you.
I love it because I feel like we agree way too much.
You view Michelle as entitled, and I view Wendell as condescending.
And maybe we're both right.
Maybe we're both right.
Maybe we're both right. I was gonna say, I'm not saying that Wendell was not condescending, so we agree on that. That being said, when people say that he's being a jerk, I'm just like, no, a jerk would be, if anything, I felt he wasn't playing the game. The game, like I said before, would have been, yeah, Parvati, I'll vote with you. Not a problem. Let's get rid of one of these guys. I'm worried about their relationship. Done. And then stabbing Parvati in the back. He didn't do that. So if he was condescending in the mindset that he was being very straightforward with her, to me, I'm like, it sucks. And I know everyone loves Parvati. Well, not everyone, but I know a lot of people love Parvati. I'm kind of like, yeah, if he could have done that without coming across as kind of brash, I would have loved that. But at the same time, I don't fault him for what he did. Maybe the way he did it, but yeah, I don't see a lot of issue with what he did. Also, this episode I found Michelle very annoying. So I'm like, I'm sure that what we saw of Wendell was probably like the 7th or 8th conversation that Michelle had tried to broach with him. And I could easily be wrong with that. We'll never know. But yeah, to a certain extent, I felt that Michelle was expecting things. And it's like, no, the only thing you should expect when you're at that level of numbers disadvantage is that you stay. And she did. So it's like, I'm sorry if you staying somehow offends you or makes you upset at me, but we can change you staying if you don't want to stay. And Wendell didn't even say that. So to me, I'm just like, sorry people were offended by Wendell. I wasn't.
You will get Sandra's fire token. So
what'd you think about that?
I guess both fire tokens, yeah, because Sandra had 2. Oh no, she had 1 because she used her feather to buy 1. I forgot. So she had 1 fire token.
A fire token to buy the immunity idol that sent her home. I'm like, that's like the most like brilliantly tragic sentence in the history of Survivor, I feel.
That's actually amazing. And who, Natalie gave that to her, right?
To Sandra. To Sandra?
Yeah.
Yes. It was Natalie or Amber. It was one of the two.
So
Natalie offered the whatchamacallit to Jeremy. And so Amber would have offered it to Sandra.
No, if Amber had an advantage, wouldn't she have offered it to Rob?
You're so right. I'm sorry. Natalie gave her fire token to Jeremy.
She had to give the advantage to the losing tribe, and she gave it to Sandra.
Correct.
Okay. So really, and I'm jumping ahead because I do want to get back to Edge before we wrap this up, but really, in reality, if and when Natalie comes back into the game, she can technically say that she idled Sandra out of the game because she gave Sandra the idol that Sandra gave away. I feel like
I would love to disagree with you on that, but we've got to be like an hour and 5 minutes into this at this point.
Pro strategy. I'm just throwing it out there. So we're heading into next episode, and I cannot believe it's not butter. Apparently, there's no merge. I don't understand what's going on.
Well, merges, I feel, traditionally happen at 12.
Which it is.
But if someone comes back into the game, that makes it 13.
But no one has come back. No one, they previewed the immunity challenge. So yeah. All I can think is that someone is going and then someone is coming back from Edge of Extinction, which I don't really understand. Like, why are we doing the song and dance?
Perhaps. Although I was thinking they normally did a 9-person jury, but with Edge of Extinction, everyone's a juror, right?
Everyone's on jury, yeah.
That's fair. Yeah, I'm intrigued. I gotta be honest, I would love to see a merge, but I know the split second a merge happens, players like Michelle, Nick, and Adam are all just gonna slide all the way to the final six because they are non-freaking entities. Period.
Yeah.
So, and I'm just like, as much as a merge would be fun, I don't want to merge until Adam is gone. Because if Adam makes the merge, Adam makes the finals.
Ugh.
Period. Period. When you have the opportunity of voting out either Jeremy or Adam, who's going to vote out Adam? When you have the option of voting out Ben or Adam, who's going to vote out Adam? When you have the opportunity of voting out Kim or Adam, who is going to vote out Adam? If he makes the merge, he goes to the end.
I'm just hoping that with this next challenge, like Yara does lose and Adam does something so unconscionably stupid that the reason why we've gotten so many random Adam can't put his torch in the thing, Adam can't close the voting urn, Adam fights with gravity and loses, that the reason that we've had all these moments is because Adam like does something hilariously stupid and gets himself voted out of the game. That's all I want.
Oh, sorry.
No, that's all I want. All I want is for that.
I would love, nothing would make me happier than for you to be right. I personally feel like if Yara goes to tribal council, I feel as though Adam's going to just be desperate enough that Sarah and Sophie might be like, you know what? Maybe we should get rid of Ben. And Adam will get the credit for it, even though I'm sure Adam will have absolutely very little to do with why they make that decision. But yeah, I'm just like, I need him gone.
Ugh.
If Adam, Nick, or Michelle make it to the end or win the season, and even to a lesser extent, Ben for me, I'm just kind of like, why are you here? But like he doesn't, it doesn't bother me nearly as much the notion of him making it to the end than it does the other three, and that's mostly because Michelle was getting there. Where I'm like, okay, she's got momentum, but this last episode, I was like, no, I'm done. I'm so sorry, princess, that this is the episode you think that people need to pat you on the back and give you something for wanting to vote with the majority when you're in the minority. That ain't how this works.
How upset do you think Jeff Probst was at losing Boston Rob? Oh, hold on. Tyson, Boston Rob, Parvati, and Sandra all back to back.
I don't necessarily know that he cared about Tyson. I don't quite get the fan.
I think he's always regarded Tyson as a really good player.
I'm sure you're right. I just don't think that he has the emotional boner for Tyson that he does for the other three.
Fair. That's fair.
I was going to say, I said emotional because if it were a physical boner, we'd only be talking about Boston Rob. That being said, I am very much in the mindset where I'm like, oh, sure, hun. Yeah, I'm sure he's pissed. And that's just when I'm like, hey, so Jeff Probst, remember the 20 twists that you wanted to put in the season? All the idols under the sun that you wanted to put in this season? I'm just like, yeah. That's just when I'm like, Jeff Probst, this is your doing. So as much as I want to feel sorry or sad or anything, I'm just like, no, this is why you don't put advantage after advantage after advantage after advantage after twist after advantage into one season. So
right.
If he doesn't get the message after this season, he never will. So time will tell.
Who do you think is coming back from the edge of extinction? Because it's upon us. The dawn is near.
I have no idea on who's actually coming back, just because we don't know what the challenge is going to be. If it's puzzle related, it could very well be Sandra or Boston Rob. If it's physically based, I would like to think that Queen Natalie is coming back. There's really no sense of who's actually coming back until we know what the challenge is. That being said, I would love for it to be Natalie. I think there's a strong contingency of people that would love for it to be Ethan. And I'm like, no, I think Ethan went out there to prove, or to do the, I won forever ago and got voted out early. He had his moment where we were so happy, we were rooting for him. He got through that challenge despite everything that he was feeling. And that was an amazing callback to everything that he went through with his cancer treatment, everything. Yeah, the only person I'd really care to see come back into the game would be Natalie. And second place would probably be Parvati.
Yeah, I think based on editing.
Oh, sorry,
Oh,
go ahead.
sorry, I cut you off. Sorry.
I was going too long anyway. I think the only reason I want to see Parvati back is I feel like the editing that we got, as far as confessionals with her, I feel like we got like a minute and 20 seconds in these 6 episodes that we've seen.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't know who she offended in the editing department or if she's having a row with Jeff Probst, but I feel like we did not see anything of Parvati. Like in
Right.
the first 4 episodes, I feel we only saw her in the first episode and that's it.
I feel like it has to be Natalie coming back, like just based on the editing. I can't see how it's not. And if it's not her this time, it'll be her the second time,
You think?
because I just feel like it has to be. Like they showed Reem a lot on Edge of Extinction, but it was never like I'm gonna come back in the game. It was just like Reem going through life and Reem being Reem. This has really been Natalie about coming back into the game the whole time. And it is kind of a bummer because, like, and again, sometimes you can't read too much into the edit because it tricks you. But unfortunately, I really wanted it to be Ethan when he went there. I can't see it being Ethan or Danny or Amber just based on the screen time we've seen. Even
Oh,
with Tyson's antics with the peanut butter, I can't really see it being Tyson.
yeah.
So it would really be down to Boston Rob, who we didn't get a lot of because he just got to Edge, or Parvati. Probably not Sandra, let's be real, unless it is a puzzle, which
Well,
it probably won't just be a puzzle.
exactly. Well, a lot of speculation seems to be that someone raises the flag next episode on Edge of Extinction to go home. I don't know how accurate that is, but someone said that it went up, a spoiler or something like that, and a lot of speculation seems to point that it's not Natalie, Sandra that goes home, and I'm just like,
Please no.
I would hate that so much, just because when I think like Survivor, 2-time
Yeah.
like that, like getting voted out, I could see Sandra potentially being like, I'm not going to sit on this island. I just got back from Island of the Idols. I did that whole bit. I've been out here. This is too many days in a row. I'm going to go sit at a resort. Goodbye. I hope it's not her. I hope the whole like raising the mask thing is just some sort of stunt to get people talking about Edge of Extinction more. But that's something that we might have to endure slash talk about next week. So we'll see.
That would make me so mad. I don't want to see it. All right. Any other predictions going forward? Oh, and what was your drop your buff moment? We skipped
My
that.
top the buff moment was 120% Denise voting out Sandra.
It has to be that. It just has to. And I love Sandra, but it has to be that moment.
There's no chance of anything other than that. And then I think my did you miss it moment, I feel like I'm beating a dead horse at this point, but what was it that Michelle said? When she said, I offered to betray Parvati. Like I said, I'm like, you're in the minority. Like you're offering to betray your co-minority captain and you want a freaking cookie for it. I don't have time. So that was my did you miss it moment. And yeah, 120%. Drop the buff was Denise's move because I thought she could do it, but never in a million years did I think she'd actually take out Sandra.
Yeah.
Did you have a did you miss it moment?
Sorry.
Did you have a did you miss it moment?
Yeah, it was Michelle shaking her head at Rob going.
Oh, that's right.
So I am going, I mean, we're at 12 right now. I'm going to throw it out there and I'm putting my eggs in the Sophie and Yule basket for winner. I'm just holding out hope. I can see Michelle being a dark horse winner here. But I just don't think at the end of the game that people are going to look at Michelle and be like, wow. But she has eight plus episodes to prove me wrong. I just don't see it based on the way that these people play the game. But I think that Sophie and Yule are both well-spoken people who are capable of making strong moves and keeping themselves shielded. And I'm going all in. I would love to see Denise win. I feel like Denise is going to be like, if she makes it, it's going to be like a second place, third place. I don't necessarily think that people are going to be like enamored with her because I think she's going to kind of fly a little bit under now that she made such a prominent move.
Well, that's what. Sorry.
Which it's good gameplay, but I don't know if she's going to play flashy enough in the post merge. We'll see.
Well, I think if anything, Denise when you make a move as big as Denise made, especially by herself, she doesn't have the opportunity to be like, oh no, it was this person's idea, or no, this person did this. She has no one to throw that on but herself. So knowing Denise, and to me it makes all the sense in the world, when you make a move that big, when every eye is on you, just sit there and go, like, here is the radar, here's under the radar, like my freaking lap is where Denise needs to go. Because everyone's just like, that's unbelievably brilliant. Why and how did you do that? And Denise just gonna go, did I do that? I swear on everything. I blacked out at tribal council. I don't remember anything I did.
All right, cell block tango. It wasn't until I was washing the blood off my hands I even knew Sandra was dead.
Yes, 120%. I mean, that was more so a nod to Natalie when she got rid of who was it? I think it was Baylor.
Oh no, not Jacqueline. Baylor.
Bailey, one of the two. And they were like, what were you thinking when you made that move? And Natalie's was like, I just blacked out. I really don't remember anything. That's what I meant, but I like the cell block tango reference infinitely better. So, Denise has every reason on the planet and the surface of the sun to lay low.
Right.
I was gonna say, a lot of people would be like, I just made a big move. I just got rid of a champion. I just got rid of a big player. Now I'm running the show. Denise is way too smart for that. She's just gonna go, I'm gonna sit here on the beach and just, enjoy the company of some rocks with my off-the-shoulder orange sweater and just be and hope people kill themselves.
All right, so we're at the top 12, and there is a confirmed immunity challenge coming. Who is losing? Because only one tribe will lose.
I want to say, I need it to be Yara.
Please, Yara. Please, Yara.
Yara. Because I'm like,
4 hours to pray this into existence.
I need it to be Yara purely because I'm just like, I don't see Sophie and Sarah turning on each other yet. I think down the road they will absolutely do it. I don't see it in their best interest in making that happen right before the merge. So as much as I desperately want Adam to go, even if Ben magically were to somehow leave, it would not destroy me, but it would just make me feel better if Adam left. I'm so done. I'm so over it. I need him out.
Yes. If either of the other tribes lose, who do you think is going?
I think if Sele loses and Michelle does not go, there is no justice in the world. Absolutely none. I'm sorry. I do not buy the pity. I do not buy the sympathy. I do not buy the battered ex-girlfriend. I don't buy it for 2 seconds. Princess wants the world on a silver platter. I ain't about that life. Go home, Michelle. And then if DeCall goes to tribal council, I have no idea.
I think Michelle for sure on Sele, and I think if DeCall goes to tribal, I think Denise goes home.
You think?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I would hope not, but
because I think
immediately around and vote her out because I don't see how that's in his best interest to do so.
I don't think it's in a lot of people's best interest, but what I think would happen in my mind would be, even if she wrangled in Tony and was like, I saved you because blah, 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 blah. And they were like, all right, you're right. Let's all vote for Kim or something. Kim pulls out her idol. And I think just in the fact that Denise is defenseless now is what makes me really nervous for her.
That's totally fair. And no one on the planet wants you on the planet wants you to be wrong more than me because
no, I want me to be wrong.
I want you to be wrong so bad because I completely did not take into consideration Denise is down to 1 token and no idol.
And was just on the wrong side of a 4-1 vote.
There's that. I think that's definitely going to switch some stuff up for a lot of people.
Yeah.
So I think Kim's definitely going to be like, do I really want to proceed with freaking Tony? And it's well known that Tony and Jeremy have been getting chummy. So I think Kim's like, if I take out Denise, I'm basically going to be one of 3 with 2 guys. And we all know how the women have been doing so well numbers-wise.
So well.
On edge of extinction. So I'd like to think Denise is safe. I'd personally like to think she is, but I could be wrong.
I hope so. I would love for it to be Tony. Get him out. Have him build a spy shack on edge of extinction.
That'd be great. I would love that too. All right. This is probably our longest episode
Probably.
in history. This is probably about an hour and 20 minutes. So yeah, at the very least, I had fun.
I had so much fun.
I was gonna say, I feel like I'm worried that the Wendell Michelle dynamic is gonna be what splits us up as a video pair. Just because I feel we're very divided on this. So,
It's okay to have disagreements.
and it's okay for you to be wrong
I
about.
was gonna, what I normally would say in that situation is it's okay to have wrong opinions.
And that's just why I'm like, I'm happy that you're willing to accept that your opinions are wrong. I'm so thrilled for you. That's very adult. Um, that being said, thank you, Ryan, as always, for
Thank you.
such an illustrious and amazing co-host.
Thank you so much. It was a wonderful reunion. It's been a hot minute since we did one of these.
I mean, it's been like a week and a half, I feel. So yeah, I'm glad we finally got this done.
I do just want to throw it out there before we go for anybody that's still watching, and if you are, thank you so much. Anybody that's dealing with any hardships from this coronavirus COVID-19 thing, whether it be health-wise, financially, I hope you guys are doing okay. We are in difficult boats ourselves, and just stay healthy and safe, and let's keep talking about things that make us happy and keep ourselves entertained and not bored, because we have Survivor to watch and things to talk about.
Yeah, please take care of your health. Drink all the water. Anything like supports your immune system, please do. Financially, a lot of
If
people.
you're sick, contact your doctor, please. Do
Yes,
not think that you'll make it through without seeking medical help.
there's that. And also, if you are feeling any particular way, please do not go to public locations with lots of people, whether it's a grocery store or anything. Please keep yourself safe. Please keep each other safe. While we're on a similar note, obviously these opinions, sometimes we have very, very pointed opinions about particular players. I just want to point out that these are opinions about gameplay. I definitely have pointed opinions about certain individuals. I do not know them personally, so I take it as such. And yeah, if you are Adam and somehow magically you make it to this video, just know I think you and I probably get along amazingly. I just wish you would be voted out. That being said, anything else, Ryan?
No, and if you're Russell Hanson, you watch this video, I meant everything I said. So
Like beautiful people, people can be amazing and beautiful, and you still might not want them to stay on Survivor. That's just kind of beautiful. All right.
thank
All
you
right.
guys for tuning in.
Amazing. Love. There you are.